This is Current Reflections, a production of Tribal College, Journal of American Indian Higher Education.
For this installment of Current Reflections, we are joined by longtime Tribal College leader Tom Shortbull. From a long line of Lakota leaders, Shortbull served as president of Oglala Lakota College for over 30 years. He was a member of AIHEC's board of directors when Congress passed the Tribally Controlled Community College Act of 1978, and he oversaw the vast expansion of OLC, both in the development of its myriad campuses and centers, as well as in its robust degree programs and massive student endowment. On top of transforming OLC into a leading tribal college, Shortbull was the first American Indian to serve in the South Dakota Senate. For these accomplishments, he was inducted into the South Dakota Hall of Fame in 2017. Thanks, President Shortbull, for joining us again here on Current Reflections. We're honored to have you here to share your insights on fundraising and resource development.
Well, thank you for that introduction.
Yeah, so I want to begin by just kind of putting things into context here for our readers, and why we really wanted to speak with you on this theme. So when you began your second tenure as OLC president in 1995, the college had a $1 million endowment. In fiscal year 2022-23, shortly before your retirement, that endowment stood at $65.6 million, which translated to $53,345 per student. So, just to put that into context for our listeners, Black Hills State University's endowment per student that same fiscal year was $9,490. South Dakota State University's was $18,699. And the University of South Dakota, which is the flagship university of the state, was $31,886. According to the Associated Press, Oglala Lakota College on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation has the highest endowment per student of any institution of higher education, public or private, in the state of South Dakota. So, right now there may be listeners out there whose heads are spinning hearing this. So, in just a few sentences, how do you explain the recipe for this staggering success?
Well, I was always tight with my money. My wife can attest to that. And, we've done well in our personal lives. That's because I know how to save money and save up for, buying a house or getting furniture or getting a car. And it's this thing that I have innate in me about saving money. And so some people think, he's a skinflint or something like that. So there are derogatory terms that are given to people like myself. But on the whole, it's like you said, with the college has been a major beneficiary. And my wife and I's life has been a major beneficiary of my savings.
Well, let's maybe drill down into the details here. Can you outline the various phases of OLC's endowment building history and the strategies implemented that enabled this success?
Well, everything started when I came back and 1995, because that's when we began what really helped us out is that we got a major National Science Foundation grant, $12.35 million over 5 years. And that got us on the path of, really having a really fine math and science department. And Then we, in 1995, we accepted a designation that OLC was a model institutions for excellence in a press conference naming the 6 institutions that are awardees under the MIE grant that were sponsored by NSF and NSA. NASA. These were institutions were Xavier University, Black institution in New Orleans, Bowie State University, Texas El Paso University, Universidad Metropolitan in Puerto Rico, and OLC. And I have to give credos to a great man that that really took a major interest. And the principal architect of this MIE program was Alfred Bridgewater, who would become a great friend of OLC. Actually, when he came to visit the college, he met with Gerald Onefeather. Gerald Onefeather was also a major force in the development of Oglala Lakota College. He was a guy with ideas, and he had problems once he got grants and stuff, so implementing them. So Gerald was the money man and the idea man, and I was, the administrator. So it ended up being a great, match that he and I had in helping the development of our college, Oglala Lakota College. So I give a lot of credit to Gerald Onefeather.
As you know, there are tribal colleges out there. You served again for 30 years, attended all those AIHEC board meetings. So you're well aware that there are some tribal colleges out there that barely have an endowment. Why did you make building OLC's endowment such a top priority?
Well, I didn't start it. This was done under Gerald Onefeather's administration and Jim Ham. And the idea was to get a direct mail campaign where you mail out requests for people to donate to the college. So one of the things that is important is writing those appeals. And it's kind of ironic. I was talking to Tom Allen. I don't know if you know Tom Allen, but he's a great proposal writer, and he helped us in developing our appeals. Another two important people were Nick Tilson and Carlene Hunter. They had a fundraising organization, and in the sense that they would take on clients and they would raise them money with their appeals. And so the big thing with way we generated income was through direct mail, sending out letters to the people that we had names of and addresses. And what was really interesting is that some people just really enjoyed contributing to our college. We had a woman that her husband was, I think, 6'1" or 6'3", somewhere, and she was 5'4", but she was a ball of fire. And I would go and visit her, and she would always, give a generous gift to the college. And so you had to develop those skills to meet with people and be able to tell them about the college if you wanted them as new donors. There's a thing in fundraising, you always have to make the ask, and you have to ask someone, would you want to donate to the college and be a permanent member of who we raise funds from. So, it takes a lot of work, and I think the saddest thing is we had this donor, and she gave, maybe $5,000 a year. And so I decided that, and so I did a campaign where I'd go and visit donors. And this lady, I went to her house and I took out money to give her because she just led a kind of a poor life, and but she enjoyed saving up her money and sent it to the college. But that was really the sad part. And then the things that just warm your heart is when you get the large donations from people. And I always remember there was a donor from, I think she was from New Mexico, and again, this is maybe not appropriate to this conversation, but I was going to go and have a meeting with her, and I went down to visit her, and she told my secretary, she said, "I look like Marilyn Monroe." Well, she didn't look like Marilyn Monroe, but you had to meet people and immediately establish what rapport you would have with them. So it took some skills, and fortunately, I had those skills, and it benefited the college, with meeting with donors. Donors are critically important to the success of any fundraising organization.
Yeah. Well, many TCUs have limited resources when it comes to institutional advancement and fundraising. I mean, you obviously had a gift for this yourself, but some TCUs maybe just don't have somebody who can do that. So, in your experience with those limited resources, would you say that it's better to focus efforts on a smaller number of large, wealthy donors, or to cast a wide net to bring in as many donors as possible, regardless of the amount?
Well, it's going to cost a lot of money, and the reason OLC is successful is that we bring in more money than what we expense for the fundraising effort. I think with these small institutions, they're better off getting money from the a fundraising organization like the American Indian College Fund, dispersing them money than going on it on their own. I just don't see it as something that would really it would probably cost more money than it's worth, especially in time and energy, and not getting a huge. No, you have to call it a profit. If your fundraising effort is $2 million and annually you do somewhere between $5 and $10 million, then you made a clear, I don't want to say profit, but you have to make more money than what you expense to raise the money. So, and I think with the smaller institutions, they're better off not getting, and they've got the American Indian College Fund, and so I think I wouldn't advise them to go down that road because it's just too expensive.
Tom Shortbull served as president of Oglala Lakota College for over 30 years. We'll be back with current reflections in just a moment.
Yate, this is Marvin Tom, the advertising coordinator for the Tribal College Journal. Since 1989, TCJ has earned a loyal following of readers who are passionate about American Indian education. Our dynamic media outlet reaches a diverse, wide-ranging market, including students, educators, and lawmakers. And here's the best part, TCJ offers a variety of reasonable price advertising options that can be placed in our magazine, on our website, or right here in our Current Reflection podcast. For more information, contact me at 970-764-4238 or at marvin@tribalcollegejournal.org. Yeah.
You're listening to Current Reflections, and I'm speaking with Tom Shortbull on fundraising and resource development. OLC's endowment is fiscally sustainable. Can you explain what that means and elaborate on how that works?
What do you mean by fiscally sustainable?
Well, I got that from that document you sent me regarding the history and timeline.
Yeah, well, and I think what is meant by fiscally, what was the term you just used? Fiscally sustainable?
Yeah, fiscally.
Uh, yeah, is that you make money over the course of the period that you do the fundraising. And once you establish yourself, and one of the things you got to do is you got to write appeals in which you show success with your students. If you don't have success with your students, major success, donors aren't going to send you money. You got to show that a large percentage of Indian people, if it wasn't for the college, would not be nurses, go on to maybe some of them go on to med school, teachers. So you always have to put forward the accomplishments that you have. And the thing that's been so remarkable about Oglala Lakota College is our students, they come from poor backgrounds. And I always remember the story that I've told a number of times at AIHEC meetings, that's American Indian Higher Education Consortium, is this man would come home at the end of his day, and he'd make supper for his son, help him with his homework, and then by about 10 o'clock, he would take out his homework and he would study from 10 o'clock to sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning, and then the next morning get up and make breakfast for his son. So when you when you think about what our students have to do on the reservations to become successful, it's really remarkable, and you have to tip your hat to them because they work hard to get their college degrees. Because and the other situation we had is we had a boyfriend and his girlfriend took classes with us, but he'd wait for her outside, and people were he was a big guy, and no one wanted to get on the wrong side of him. So there are a lot of things that you have to do with as a tribal college to make sure your students are successful.
In building OLC's endowment, and this may sound a little off kilter, this question, but I think I've heard of stories. In building the endowment, did you ever run into any resistance? And if so, what was the nature of the resistance and how were you able to navigate that?
I don't think there ever was any resistance because people, when you put forward what you're going to do, what you want to a college, you want to bring in more scholarship support to the college. Sometimes you have endowments for the operations of the college, but the scholarships are critically important, and people really support what we do for our students. And so I think we rarely have had any dissension or anything about what we do. I don't know if I answered that question the way you might have thought, or do we need to qualify it a little bit?
No, that's good to hear. I was just curious about that. So we've just got one more question, and this is more directed, I guess, towards newer TCU leaders who perhaps are just taking the helm as president of a tribal college which may not have a large endowment. What advice would you give them as they embark on this journey of fundraising and resource development?
Well, you got to realize it's going to cost you money, So if we generated, let's say, 20 million, might have been $5 to $8 million that would be the cost of a fundraising effort. And so if if you don't have the ability to get to the 8 million that it's going to cost you to have an endowment, you're going to better off not doing it and just hope that people, just by what you're doing, will give you. But I think for the small college, it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to do major campaigns like the college did, because I would say that if we made 20 million, might have cost us, $5 to $10 million to have those campaigns, and so you got to have money. What's the old saying? You got to have money to make money.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's good. Good advice. Well, thanks so much for taking the time and joining us here today.
Well, thank you too. I always enjoy talking about the things the college did. Oglala Lakota College has been one of the leading institutions of the American Indian Higher Education Consortium. So, but I think your idea here today was, could smaller institutions do fundraising? And I guess it's better for them to know you better have a lot of money before you embark on that, because people say, well, if they know state institutions, they have a big endowment and all of this, and so we'll do one too. Well, you better really study what you want to do, because in the end, you may lose a lot of money and not make a dime.
Okay.
So that's my concluding remark.
Yeah. Well, words of wisdom. So thanks for sharing.
Current Reflections is a production of Tribal College, Journal of American Indian Higher Education. Thank you for listening.
Now that Kachin slow and Shane Bashes Chain, but Anita Shache Taban Dashanale. I am Marvin Tom, the subscription manager for the Tribal College Journal. Today, tribal colleges and universities are uplifting Native communities, and Tribal College Journal is their voice. So don't hesitate, subscribe to the Tribal College Journal today and help support American Indian higher education. For just $29, you will receive our quarterly publication plus the annual edition of TCJ Student, which features creative writing and art. It is as easy as a quick phone call or email. You can reach me at 970-764-4238 or at marvin@tribalcollegejournal.org. I look forward to hearing from you. AIHEC.